Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakach, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I've got this article. It's pulled up from SciPost. It's a psychology magazine or really website, but it says Trump support in 2024 linked to white Americans' perception of falling to the bottom of the racial hierarchy. When it says white Americans, it's really speaking of Edomites. So-called white people, including the tiny tops, are the biblical Edomite. This guy on the screen, Emperor Nero, is a biblical Edomite. They're not white people. If he was white, his skin would match the color of his shirt, but you can see that that is red going to Edom. Edom means red. And these are the Edomites. And they're feeling the downfall come upon them. They're feeling the curses of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai coming upon them, going into Deuteronomy 30 and 7. They're feeling themselves being made less significant and small among the whole world. And they're saying their days are determined and that they're falling out of power. And so they were trying to make themselves great again, and they voted for this guy. They voted in Nero. And this goes into some other psychology, which, Lord willing, we get a chance to check out. But it says, a new study published in the journal Advances in Psychology sheds light on the psychological factors that influence voting behavior in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. The findings suggest that Edomite Americans who perceive themselves as ranking at the bottom of the racial economic hierarchy, specifically those who feel tied with black Americans, were the most likely to support Donald Nero, the Emperor Nero, were most likely to support Emperor Nero. These individuals also expressed the strongest opposition to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And it says, so going back up, it says, the findings suggest that Edomite Americans who perceive themselves as ranking at the bottom of the racial economic hierarchy, and they perceive themselves there because that's where they are. That's their natural position. They are the basest of men. It's Job 30 and verse 8. It says they were children of fools, yet children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And you could see with these Jazzy Jeff files, these reports that have been released, these people are viler than the earth. This goes back to Edomites. The other nations involved in this thing are only doing it because the Edomites are in power right now, and they're the ones who have power, influence, and control over this world. But you could see these are base people, and we're just in a backwards, upside down world, and they have power currently. But we're at the end of their world. Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob's the beginning of it that follows. And so, the end of their world, they're feeling themselves lose power and go back to that base state. This is also Daniel 4 and 17, because the Lord lifted them up into this position, but only for a moment, only temporarily. Daniel 4 and 17, this matter is by decree of the watchers, the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. These are base men. And they feel that they're at the bottom because they're truly supposed to be at the bottom. That's their natural state. That's where they're supposed to be. You can even see how base they are because they've been at the top and they've been bragging about how it was their skin that did it, their white superiority that did it, their ability to survive amongst everybody else, the survival of the fittest that did it. Their false theories. They put all these theories about their Edomite supremacy and their evolution and all these things out there, but it's all not true. The Lord put them there temporarily, and it's to make a great example of them. Going back to this article, it says the United States, which United States is also known as Babylon the Great within the scriptures, currently exhibits a significant racial wealth gap because the Edomites have hoarded it all to themselves. It says, but the elite of the Edomites. Economic statistics consistently show that the average Edomite family holds considerably more wealth than the average black or Hispanic family, and they have been shown more favor. Go to Isaiah 26:10, which Lord willing, we could get through this article, but Isaiah 26:10, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness, because they are that crooked root. It says, let favor be showed to the wicked are the Edomites, so-called white people, including the tiny tops, yet will he not learn righteousness, because they can't learn it. In the land of uprightness, the land of Israel, which they stole via their Balfour Declaration, will he deal unjustly. You can see that with how he's dealing with the Ishmaelites that are there in the land. He says, and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. They are in a favorite position currently because they're in their blessing. This is their blessing, where they get the fatness of the earth, and they rule it via their blessing, the sword, which translates to the gun now, and their nuclear missiles, all their weaponry, and their technology. And so, of course, they hold more wealth than, it says, black or Hispanic family, which is the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans make up the Israelites. And in both realms have been scattered around. The Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans have been scattered around the earth because we're the Israelites. The diaspora occurred, so we're going to come back looking like all the other nations. And then the Edomites, they scattered themselves via their colonizing and not keeping it home. And so they're going to come back looking like all of the other nations as well. This is a bloodline thing. It's a seed line thing through your father's lineage. But yeah, they're in the blessed position now. So the Edomites have more wealth than black or Hispanic families, Israelite families, as it says. Despite this objective reality, previous polling indicates that many Edomite Americans feel as though they are personally falling behind in terms of their status. It's sad. Psychological theories regarding relative deprivation suggest that people evaluate their well-being by comparing themselves to others rather than by looking at their resources in isolation. And one of their greater Edomites, Teddy Roosevelt, said that comparison is the thief to joy. Comparing yourself to other people is a good way to make yourself unhappy. And that also goes into covetousness, in which these are very covetous people. They covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, so that they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. These are very covetous people, so of course they're going to compare themselves to others. But you should just listen to the Lord. And he says, rejoice and be glad. Lamentations 4:21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom. Ye, the lineage of evil, as the amazing Lucas says it, the descendants of Esau, Edom, so-called white people, including the tiny tops. Stop comparing yourselves to others and just be glad that you are in your blessing currently. You're at the very last moments of this blessing, but that's no reason not to enjoy it, because this is going to, each day is going to be better than the last, because these curses are coming onto you. The people are turning on you. You're being made small among the heathen and greatly despised. These wars are about to start, and your elite are about to push the MOTB. So just rejoice and be glad. Be happy. that you're in this position now. Because it's going to get incrementally worse day by day. And the kingdom, ooh, you're going to wish you just didn't exist in the kingdom. So be glad in the moment. Live for the moment. Be in the present. The power of the present. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee, the cup of trembling, the cup of all those curses in Deuteronomy. That is coming on to you. You can see it. Your birth rates are low. Your women are leaving you and want nothing to do with you. You're being called out in front of everybody and shamed. Your elite are just demons. This cup is passing on to you. And they're being outed as being demons. It says, thou shalt be drunken and shalt make thyself naked. All your sins are being seen, Edom. Just stop comparing yourself to people, to others, and then you could be happy. Comparison is the thief of joy. Since the authors of the new research aim to understand how these subjective comparisons influence political attitudes. Specifically, they investigated where non-Hispanic white individuals, or red individuals, think they stand compared to their own and other racial groups. Previous research identified a phenomenon known as last place aversion, where people fear being at the very bottom of a social hierarchy. And so I actually have that pulled up. Last place aversion, well, in just the AI overview, says it proposes that individuals, particularly those near the bottom of a socioeconomic hierarchy, so your two-time loser Edomites, the ones that are not in the elite class, the ones that are not millionaires, just your everyday, regular, degular Edomite. Joe Smo, six-pack Edomite. That's who it's speaking of. The ones that show their hate, but it's just because they are at the bottom of their own socioeconomic hierarchy within of the Edomites. It says, may oppose policies like income redistribution that benefit those beneath them to avoid falling into last place themselves. A lot of these policies that are being pushed now, like with the immigration stuff, these Edomites fell for it, but they'll have an immigrant wife or an immigrant stepchild who's giving them grandchildren, and they're breaking up their own families. They're doing these things. What is it? Cut off your nose to spite your face. They're doing these things even though it hurts them. Or they push this immigration policy and have all the construction workers bust off, but then their business fell because they have no workers. They're doing all this stuff because it seems so silly and ignorant. They're doing this just to try to save their position, in which you can't save your position. You guys fall out. You have a temporary rulership. You can't save it. And it goes back to them thinking that their houses will continue forever, but they won't. This is coined by economist Ilyana Kuzmenko. It highlights a deep-seated desire to avoid being at the bottom. Nobody wants to be at the bottom, but Esau, you were created to be at the bottom. That's literally why you're here, because you're the basest of men. Somebody's got to be the slaves, Edomites. It says key aspects of last place aversion, opposition to redistribution. Low-income individuals may punish those slightly below them to maintain a sense of superiority or to ensure they are not in the lowest position, even if it harms their own economic interest. Case studies: minimum wage. Workers slightly above minimum wage are most likely to oppose minimum wage increases as it reduces their relative advantage over the lowest paid group. That is crazy. Queuing behavior. Studies in queue management show that participants in last place are more likely to abandon a line or switch, and they become less anxious if a new person joins behind them. Restaurant choices. Customers frequently avoid the cheapest wine, opting for the second cheapest to avoid the perceived stigma of being last. Psychological basis. The theory suggests a profound psychological discomfort with being in the absolute lowest position, similar to the childhood fear of being picked last in sports. And it's funny, all these are really just Esau's insecurities manifesting. We can just see it. So how you get Edomite superiority or supremacy in the first place is because they know they're the lowest form of humanity, which they are morally, spiritually, physically. And so they pull this Napoleon syndrome or complex and boost themselves up like they're all big and bad, but they're really just base men. This is game theory. In laboratory experiments, subjects in second to last place are less likely to share money with the lowest player compared to those in higher positions, indicating a desire to keep a buffer group below them. This theory provides a crucial non-political explanation for why lower income voters sometimes oppose liberal economic policies. Yeah, it's just Esau's insecurities. But you will be last, Esau. It's coming. It's why the Lord's coming back, to take you out of power. He's going to put down all rule, power, and authority, starting with you. Isaiah 63. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? It says this line of research was motivated by recent political trends among some Edomite Americans, including support for DEI bans, alignment with alt-right ideology, and endorsement of political violence in pursuit of political goals. January 6, e.g. Explained study authors Aaron Cooley and Jasmine Brown Iannuzzi, associate professors of psychology at Colgate University and the University of Virginia, respectively. Many of these attitudes are not only extreme, but also anti-democratic, raising questions about how such views can coexist with identities centered on being most American, e.g., white nationalist belief systems. It says for their study, the researchers recruited a representative sample of 506 non-Hispanic red Americans. They utilized a quota system to ensure the group accurately reflected the U.S. population in terms of age, gender, education, and geographic region. The study employed a longitudinal design collecting data in 5 distinct waves from early September 2024 through the days immediately following the November presidential election. The primary tool used to assess status was a measure called the Perceived Self-Group Hierarchy. Developed by the study authors, participants viewed a diagram representing a status ladder based on money, education, and job prestige. They were asked to place markers representing themselves, white people or Edomites, black people, Judites, Asian people, Moabites, and Hispanic people, Ephraimites, because that's the head of the northern kingdom, and Hispanic people or Ephraimite people into this ladder. If participants wanted to indicate no difference among racial groups, they could place all icons in the same spot. Using a statistical technique called latent profile analysis, the researchers identified distinct subgroups based on how they viewed the social hierarchy. One group, comprising about 15% of the sample, fit a last place tied profile. These individuals perceived themselves as ranking below white, Asian, and Hispanic Americans. Notably, they view themselves as tied for the bottom position with Black Americans. See, black goes into everything bad and negative. So everybody's perceptions are that Judites, so-called Negroes, are just last place in everything, but we're the head tribe of the nation of Israel, and the Lord has put us above all nations. It's Deuteronomy 7 and 6 or 4 and 6. Do this with Deuteronomy 14 and 2. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy power, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself. This is speaking to the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It says, above all the nations that are upon the earth. And as I was saying earlier, we're just in an upside down state. Here, let's get that to you. Isaiah 29:16, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. The Israelites were supposed to be at the top of the socioeconomic hierarchy, in which we will be coming here soon when the kingdom comes, and as soon as these Edomites push out their MOTB and get blown up in World War III, and we could get the real kingdom going. But until then, we're in this upside down world, but in the kingdom. Israel will be at the absolute top, and Esau, Edom, the Edomites will be at the absolute bottom, with Amalek being on the bottom of even the Edomites. But they've turned this world upside down. Isaiah 29:16, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? This goes into the social hierarchy. This goes into moral understanding. This goes into understanding of how the earth and our environment works. Because everything's all polluted. People's minds are polluted, and the social hierarchy is turned upside down. People think the laws are done away with, but they're not. The Lord's about to show them. But yeah, that's why they perceive Black Americans at that bottom position, because this world's been turned upside down, and so-called Negroes go to the lineage of Judah. Judah is the head tribe of the nation of Israel, with the nation of Israel being the head nation over all the other nations. Upside down. In this profile, the participants also perceive the entire hierarchy as a tight race, meaning they felt the gaps between racial groups were relatively small. And just watch, Yahushua is about to come back and flip the whole game up, turn it all right side up, and show, and that gap is going to be insurmountable. Israel is going to be turned into immortals, while all of the other nations won't. Moab won't be immortal, Ham won't be immortal, Ishmael won't be immortal, Elam won't be immortal, Edom most definitely will not be immortal. It's going to be the biggest gap of all time, coming here soon. It says the researchers found a consistent link between the last place profile and specific political views. Edomite Americans who fit this profile report the highest levels of support for Donald Nero, Emperor Nero, throughout the campaign season. They also expressed the strongest intention to vote for him. They surveyed the day after the election. This group was the most likely to report having cast their ballot for Nero. Beyond voting choices, this group showed the strongest opposition to DEI programs, favoring policies that would ban such initiatives in universities. Additionally, they showed higher, in which DEI, the biggest recipient and benefitter benefitter from DEI was this quote unquote white woman. And you would think they would actually be about this. Have two high earning incomes within a family, that would be great. Or even more if you weren't so stupid and push monogamy. But yeah, that benefits them and it shows them cutting off their nose to spite the face. It says additionally, they showed higher alignment with alt-right ideologies, agreeing more frequently with statements such as white people are generally under attack in the U.S., which doesn't make any sense. This is your kingdom. You're not under attack. You're under attack by your own people, Amalek. Y'all are the same people, and this is just the division between y'all. It says, and the government threatens my personal rights. Importantly, the researchers found that these attitudes were not driven by actual poverty. The researchers controlled for objective indicators of socioeconomic status, such as income and education levels. They found that belonging to the last place profile predicted Nero support in anti-DEI attitudes regardless of how much money or education the participant actually had. And this goes right into this quote from LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson. It's widely credited with saying, if you can convince the lowest white man, lowest Edomite, he's better than the best colored man. He won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. And this is because these are a very, very prideful people. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks. Let's read a little more. Because this quote is attributed to a conversation Johnson had with his aide Bill Moyers during a 1960 campaign trip in Tennessee. After seeing racist signs at a political event, according to Moyers, Johnson was critiquing how Southern politicians used racial resentment to manipulate poor white voters, distracting them from economic exploitation. Your leaders, Esau, have lied to you. You've got to figure that out. You should be able to see it at this point. Look what they do to little children. You're not even saying anything about it because you want the status quo to continue. You guys are all wicked. You deserve what is about to come. It says the quote reflects Johnson's complex understandings of race and class in American politics. While he had a controversial past in civil rights, he later became a key figure in advancing landmark legislation like the Civil Rights Act in 1964, which did a lot to hurt Israelites. It says the statement is often cited as a sharp analysis of the politics of division and economic disenfranchisement. And don't believe that he did this out of any good participating in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This guy was a demon. He would show his little Johnson to everybody within the White House. That guy is a demon. And he was a staunch racist. He didn't change or anything. That's just Esau still trying to cover his butt, trying to pretend like they're actually good and moral people, but they're not. Look at those reports. Those are scumbags, the scum of the earth. Base men, as it says. But I'll finish out in Psalms chapter 49 and verse 11. It says their inward thought is, this is speaking of the Idumeans, the Edomites, so-called white people, including the tiny tops. This is how they think on the inside. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, which really everybody thinks that. I don't see our people just disappearing off the planet, even without knowing the truth. Didn't see that, but now that I know I'm an Israelite, I know that we have a kingdom coming that is going to go forever and forever, and that it hinges on the Edomite kingdom going down forever and forever. And these guys don't realize that the blasphemy and the hurt they their forefathers have inflicted, including in their current have inflicted, and what is to come with this nuclear war and with the mass micro sea hipping of the people and beheadings and everything that is coming. It says the devil will come down with great wrath, seeing that he hath but a short time. They've done too much, and they don't get to continue forever. They're the only nation that the Lord is going to punish without mercy, which I was bringing that up earlier, but we won't get into it. But yeah, they get no mercy from Yahweh Shem Al Shai, and their entire sea line gets taken off this planet after they serve 1,000 years of hardcore slavery. So their houses do not continue forever. It says, in their dwelling places to all generations. It won't be like that. We're going to remove everything that you have left, all the trinkets you've left around this earth. Like Mount Rushmore, America's going to get flattened. And any other idols or monuments, they're all going to be taken down. You don't continue forever. Scripts talk about how it's going to be like a dream after you're gone. It's going to be like a bad dream that we were here. In their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. America is named after Amerigo Vespucci. They even named the Gulf of America after that guy. Africa is named after Scipio Africanus. Same with Asia, his brother, Asiaticus. You see it all around. Georgia, where I'm at, is named after King George. They named them their lands after their own, or after the people they conquered. That's why you see so many Native American names around here. But Esau feels that he's going down, seeing his days are determined. I think finish out here. Yeah, Job 14:5, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. He sees his day. He doesn't want it, but it's going to come no matter what. Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.